Hello again, everyone. This is Frank Demora with the third video for today of April 29th of 2011, and I want to continue on with some of the news that has to do with the flooding and what's taking place with the prophecy Luke 21:25, where he talks about these storms that would be coming, and also effects of the curse because of the United States moving against Israel and going against the word of the Lord. Now, I'm going to give you some news, and hopefully you'll understand why these things are taking place and give your life to the Lord. One of the news articles that I didn't share with you, it says this: as if tornadoes and damaging thunderstorms were not enough, historic flooding is also threatening the Mississippi River between St. Louis as well as the lower parts of the Ohio River. The rising waters are expected to top levels set during the February 1937. This mark is the Middle Mississippi Valley's equivalent to the 1993 event farther north along the Old Man River. Even if rain were to fall at a normal rate for the remainder of the spring, the consequences of what has already happened in the Midwest will affect the way of life, property, agriculture, and travel, shopping, navigation for weeks in the region. Now, one of the reasons why I'm giving you this information is this. For the longest time, I've been telling you to watch out for different events that were going to wreak havoc on the U.S. economy and destroy crops in the process. And as this happens, it also messes with the U.S. economy. And the U.S. economy right now is tanking. We see this in the news, which I'll be covering this also. And I truly believe that this is all part of this curse that the United States has fallen under because they are trying to divide up the land of Israel. Now, when you see here, it says historic flooding. And again, as I pointed out in my second video, Jesus told us that these events were going to happen with the birth pangs. And we're seeing just about all the storms that are coming up. You know, we're hearing now that these are brand new records, historic floodings. We've never seen these conditions before. The storms of the centuries are becoming storms now of happening more frequently. We're seeing these types of articles all the time now. And to me, I understand why. It's because the birth pangs are increasing. But as we saw from this article, it talks about the agriculture, the flooding that's going to, obviously, this is the time of the year where the crops have been planted, and flooding like this, plus the hailstones that are wrecking crops, it's taken a huge toll on America at a time where the economy is sluggish, and they've been trying to have the rebound of the economy in the United States, but it's not happening. Now, concerning this economy, when you go to my website, just click down and you'll be able to click to the article that I'm talking about. I've been warning that there's a decline in the U.S., and this decline is in part for, number one, because of the policies against Israel, and they've been placed under the curse, and also it is in the footsteps preparing the way for the last world empire. We know that the United States will decline. They used to be the number one superpower of the world, but as the years go by, we see that the United States is losing its influence, and they are becoming a nation behind so many other superpower nations. And one of those, obviously, would be China, who's advancing very, very strongly. But we see the decline. We see it in the economy. We see it in the dollar. And we see different effects that are associated with Bible prophecy. Let me read you a little excerpt from a report that came out today. It says the U.S. dollar's long decline has turned into a sudden plunge, throwing currency markets into a frenzy that is complicating life for policymakers and executives world over. As the United States dollar dies, It's going, as I said many, many times before, it's going to cause a ripple effect through the world economy. Now, when this happens, and it's on its way, when this happens, there's going to be a brand new reserve currency that's going to be put in place. And this is all part of bringing in the last world empire that Jesus warned about in Revelation chapter 17. And also we see as God spoke to Daniel and told him in chapter 2 and chapter 7 about the different world powers that would come into existence all the way until the end times, where we see the revived Roman Empire, the Antichrist coming out of this revived Roman Empire. And this is primarily one of the reasons why I truly believe the United States is declining. Now, on the flip side of that, we see that the decline has taken place in part because of the curse. So all of these things come into play. Now, let me go on with this article. It says, an index that measures the value of the dollar against 6 major peers declined for the 8th consecutive day Thursday, the longest slump in 2 years. The U.S. dollar is in the midst of what Nomura Securities International analyst James Nordtiv called a violent weakening move, as the confluence of factors drive investors to seek short-term gains outside the United States. And so we see the problems in the United States affecting the world market. Now, to show you the repercussions that is taking place, and there's a lot of different aspects that is driving this the U.S. economy into the ground, and one of those elements that are doing this is the price of gasoline that's rising almost on a daily basis now. But it's affecting people. It's affecting people how they buy, how they shop. And here's a prime example of this. If you go to my website and click to this link, it talks about Walmart. It says that the Walmart core shoppers are running out of money faster than a year ago due to rising gas prices, and the retail giant is worried. It says CEO Mike Duke said Wednesday, we're seeing more consumers under a lot of pressure. Duke said at the event in New York. There's no doubt that the rising fuel prices are having an impact. Walmart shoppers, many of whom live paycheck to paycheck, typically shop in bulk at the beginning of the month when their paychecks come in. Lately, they're running out of money at a faster clip, he said. And this is happening at the same time as many of the other world nations are facing the same problems. And we saw this taking place earlier this year with the riots that took place in many of these Middle Eastern nations, and they're still rioting. And large part of those riots took place because people cannot even afford to buy food. And when you come back to the United States and you see for the first time in the United States that people have to juggle whether they're going to pay health insurance or buy food, and many, many millions of Americans are still out of work, and we see hundreds of thousands of people being unemployed every month, and it's been continuing since the latter part of 2007. I warned you that every month you would see hundreds of thousands of people losing their jobs, and it's taking place because we see the curse affecting what is happening to the United States of America. One of the other prophecies that I've often mentioned, and in accordance to what God has shown us about these last days, as we see the dollar declining and how it's affecting the rest of the world, we also see that the gold and the silver prices are shooting through the roof. And obviously, if you know what Daniel wrote about the last Roman Empire that was going to revive, you know that America has to decline. And part of the decline is the dollar goes down. They're looking at the gold and the silver to replace as the real money for the dollar. And this is in part why the gold and the silver and the metals are going through the roof. And I've been warning, according to what Jesus said in Revelation chapter 18, verse 12, where he lists the different items that people are going to weep over when God takes them away from them during the tribulation period. And two of those items are gold and the silver. And I've been telling people, your dollars in the bank are going to be useless. The inflation is about ready to hit. You'll see that the dollar, I believe now that the dollar value is only at 72%. So we're already seeing a large portion of the value of the dollar decline. Now listen to this. Today's news that I just picked up, and you can do this yourself. You can go into Google and put in a search for current silver or gold prices, and you'll see the ticket go flashing through your computer, and it'll tell you what the prices are. Today, silver, again, another record. It went up 14 cents, and it's now at 48.14 cents an ounce. Gold went up $12 today. New records for gold, and now today, so far, it's at 1,548. Now, a lot of people would just dismiss this as saying, well, the metals always come up and they go down. But let me tell you something. We've never seen prices like this before. Never. Now, also, let me add this. We've never seen prices like this, and at the same time, seeing all of the different prophecies that Jesus warned us about taking place all at the same time. This, my friends, is where it makes a huge difference, because we know that by these prophecies, all of these things, as we see them, is an indication that you better get your life straight with Jesus Christ now, because we're very, very close, closer than we've ever been, obviously, to the rapture of the church. And someday soon, if you believe in Jesus Christ, if you accept Jesus Christ, not just believe Him, but if you accept Jesus Christ as your Savior, soon those who have accepted the Lord will be seeing Jesus Christ face to face, looking into His eyes. And it's going to happen in a twinkle of an eye. So please, whatever you do, make sure that you're ready to leave this earth at any time, because we know by all of these signs that day is approaching.